Technical Veterinary Learning Channel. Honored by Prof.Ahmed Mamdouh El-Sherif, Professor of Epidemiology and Infectious Diseases, the ex-head of Department of Veterinary Medicine, the ex-Vice Dean of Faculty of Veterinary Medicine, Bani Suef University, Egypt, presents today African horse sickness disease will be explained, clarified in several series. African horse sickness has another synonyms such as Peridisceti, Pistis equorum, Lapisti equina, Pistis equina africana, and in Sudan, its synonym is Abu el-Manazir. In the broadcast of Technical Veterinary Learning, this is a breaking news. African horse sickness outbreak in Thailand approved since March 2020 till now. This outbreak of African horse sickness in Thailand, it is the first major outbreak outside Africa in the last 30 years. African horse sickness experts are worried that it could spread to neighboring countries in Southeast of Asia. What is African horse sickness? African horse sickness is an arboviral, highly devastating infectious disease of equines, horses, donkeys, mules, zebras, and their crossbreeds also. African horse sickness is characterized by clinical signs and lesions associated with respiratory and circulatory impairment, which reflects that this disease equine will be seen standing with their legs apart and their head extended. African horse sickness is the seventh danger disease of equines on the list of diseases notifiable to the World Organization for Animal Health (OIE) at 2020 as follows. OIE listed diseases, infections and infestations in force in 2020, equine diseases and infections. We found that the most dangerous diseases here appear, and the seventh one is the infection with African horse sickness virus. Why is there concern about African horse sickness in the whole world? African horse sickness repeatedly caused large epizootics in the Mediterranean regions, North Africa, and south of Europe as a result of trade and international horse races. African horse sickness is spread by certain types of the same group of insects, Calocoids midges, which are responsible vectors as carriers of different arboviral transmitted diseases, and this is the concern that a similar situation could occur with African horse sickness everywhere in the world. History of the African horse sickness disease. African horse sickness reported since Mughal entered the world 4 wars by leading of Genghis Khan in Arabic and European countries at the 10th century. The earliest documentation is heavily biased toward insertions of African horse sickness virus into the Middle East countries. Reports of African horse sickness occur following introduction of horses into Central and Southern Africa during 17th century. African horse sickness is endemic in the central tropical regions of Africa. Endemic transmission of African horse sickness virus occurs in a broad band across Africa south of Sahara Desert from Mauritania to Somalia. Outbreaks of African horse sickness had a significant impact on both civilian and military transport until the end of the First World War at November 1918. In 1921, Sir Arnold Tyler described 7 major epizootics in South Africa from 1780 up to 1918. African horse sickness regularly spreads to Southern Africa and occasionally to Northern Africa according to colloquial distribution and or horses trade. Incursion and rapid spread of African horse sickness virus were blamed largely on the movement of nomadic tribes and their equine livestock along riverine trade routes. Outbreaks outside Africa in the Near and Middle East during 1959 up to 1961 denoted the expanded of African horse sickness eastward from Iran to westward to Iraq to Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India. First time in recorded history, African horse sickness virus recrudesced in North Africa in 1966 after a winter pause and then entered Europe via the Straits of Gibraltar in Spain. By October 1966, it had infected horses in the Spanish province of Cádiz. African horse sickness disease was eradicated from Spain within few weeks later through rapid deployment of vaccination and slaughter policy. African horse sickness outbreaks outside Africa reported as the following. Number 1, in Spain at 1966, then at the time between 1987 up to 1990. Number 2, in Portugal at 1989. Number 3, in Morocco at 1989 up to 1991. Lately, in Thailand since March 2020 up till now. African horse sickness series to be continued. Please subscribe the channel in order to be able to access the latest information and explanations.